Hello, everyone. I'm very excited to bring you this new series called Practical Project Management for Non-PMs. There's a lot of PMs out there, or there's a lot of people out there that are being tasked with projects, and they don't really have that kind of a practical experience. So what this video brings you is a practical approach as compared to, let's say, a PMP exam preparation. If you don't have any background in project management, then exam preparation may not always be your thing, because a lot of things, a lot of the terminologies and such may be new to you. So what I've decided to do is put together this one series that is intended for those who don't have project management experience, and bring it to you like it should be done, with the introduction, obviously, and then show you how to start a project, how to plan for a project, how to implement it and keep an eye on it, and then how you close it out. So it is going to be based on the same PIM book, Project Management Body of Knowledge from PMI. However, the approach is not going to be like an exam preparation. So all of the dull stuff that you would want to know just for the sake of the exam, those have been taken out. Instead, what I've done is I put it in a nice, easy to follow approach that should be good for everybody. Let me know what you think. If you're not subscribed, you may want to subscribe, because this is going to be a series of videos. So right now, this is going to be the first video, but after this, there's going to be tons of other, not tons, but there's going to be several videos that will follow this until we get to the closeout section. Thank you for watching, and hope to see you on the videos. Take care. Bye-bye. But let's get started with the training. We'll try to keep it practical, which is the intention from this training. I want you to learn project management in its, in its usable fashion, not in the exam practice fashion. And at some point in your own work with the organization, you'll be asked to take over the lead of a project or support a project, and therefore it's important that you have these skills. I do have an introduction section, which is not necessarily going to be a practical part, but we do need to cover the very basics initially, like what is a project, before we move forward with the rest of the material. We would think that everybody knows what a project is, but then you find out that some still confuse projects with something else. So we're going to start with the introduction. And here I just want to talk about the very, very basics of project management. So we consider anything that is tasked to us, anything that is assigned to us with some deliverable that should be completed by a specific time frame as a project, and especially when it needs to be planned or coordinated or scheduled or monitored, because there are some tasks that they give to us, but they're not necessarily, they don't feel like projects. They feel like a task, that's what it is, just a task. It's just something that needs to be done, probably takes 4 hours, like a report. A report is a report. I mean, it takes a few hours to do sometimes, so sometimes it's automatic. And it doesn't feel like something I would have a meeting about with someone to plan it and to figure my resources and how much it would cost or how long some of the activities are going to take and whether there's risk. It doesn't feel essential to do it. But whenever you feel the task is big enough, big could be 3 days, could be 5 days. For example, an annual event on the day of the event will happen in a few hours. That's when it happens. But the preparation work that goes into it, takes, several months sometimes. So these feel like if you don't plan them, things could go wrong. And those are what we call projects. Projects typically need to be planned. They have a date when they want you to start. So it's not really up to you when you feel like it. No, they need you to start because it takes a certain number of months or days to complete. So if you don't start now, you'll never finish by then. So they really want you to start on that one project. If I know, for example, an activity or a project will take 3 months worth of work to get it done, then, if I need this by September, then I'm already late because I'm already in July. All we have is July and August. So that leaves me only 2 months. And I know that this usually takes 3 months. So this should have really been started like in the beginning of June if I want it by September. So that's the urgency in projects. They need you to start so that you can finish at a specific time. So we say a project is a temporary endeavor. It's a temporary in the sense that It is needed now, but it's not always needed. So it's needed because something needs to be done now. Like a move is temporary. Moving on a daily basis will be good if you are a mover company who does moving for a living. Other than that, you would not want to be moving daily, and you wouldn't want to be rolling out an ERP daily, and you wouldn't want to make any tweak to your website daily. So all these things that are not things we repeat, we call them temporary. They're needed at that time. So we say they are temporary endeavor or initiative undertaken or initiated to create a unique product, service, or result. Not that what you're making is actually unique, but everything that you do, every task, every big task that you're involved in will face unique challenges, unique circumstances. The environment is unique. It's not the product itself. So if we're talking about an ERP rollout, an ERP rollout could be similar in nature to another ERP rollout, and if I'm good at it, I can just repeat it. ERPs are larger than projects. They're considered more like programs. But anyways, if I roll out some IT system somewhere in one unit or department, then they ask me to go and do it in another one, I can do it, but I know for sure that I will have different sets of challenges. I will have different people, different, for example, resentment or resistance to the work being done. Some will be supportive from the people around, some will be against. Some will not be available to even help or guide. They will not do their part. So just because I've done something successfully doesn't mean that I would always have the same success. Even myself, I cannot guarantee that I am the same condition or capability next year. So we say projects will have unique circumstances about them, which is why we consider the end result to be a unique product, service, or result. And we cover all areas, product as in physical product, a service that you want to provide. Maybe you want to provide some automated solutions for people who work with you or organizations that use your services. And sometimes we're looking for a result. We want that many transactions, and so if we can reduce the life cycle of something, then we can get this many transactions. Or maybe we want more accuracy in the outcome, or maybe better completion of something. So these are results, and so we fine-tune the product so we get better results. So these are all projects, and they will all face their own unique challenges and circumstances. So that's the beginning of what a project is. Anything else is most likely going to be operations, day-to-day stuff, or maybe larger scale programs where your project is in that program. And we say that projects, they are usually progressively elaborated, meaning we don't always plan everything from day one. If we are working in if we are working on a project, I'm going to draw here. So let's say this is my project and I've been given this to do. There are some things that I know will need to be done soon, and those, because I have to act on them really soon, I have to have all the details. And there are some things that I know would happen later that I can wait until later to figure out. As an example, if we're talking about a move, and we're moving, let's say we are 100 people or 200 people moving from one building to another. We know that we need to be packing things up and maybe labeling things and so on, so that when we move, we'll know where these boxes will go and, whose, stuff, whose desk went into that one box. But there are some things about the new place I don't really need to know now. Even if we want to plan on decorating that place, maybe I don't need to worry about what decorations I will use. I can wait until later and I'll do that. So if I think decoration will happen after I move, we'll deal with it, when we get there. So, but for now, my main concern is we need to get the packing done, maybe the legal items, of, closing out the lease, making sure we have movers, these are like happening now. Maybe some things about, backing up our data in case some of the devices break while we are moving them. So what I'm creating here is activities that I feel are happening in the short term, near term, and those need to be planned out really well. The ones that would happen later on, those I can, put off. Even if I know that we will use some money for decorating to put a plant, a flower, some pictures or paintings. Those I'm not going to worry about now. Maybe there's some decorations we'll put on the walls. I don't really need to worry about that, about the details now. I can just put a budget for that and say this many dollars. So we'll put that many dollars for the decoration. We'll put, if we need additional things like a water dispenser or a coffee machine. We can put a budget for these things, but we don't have to plan them now. Why don't we wait until we move there and see what it looks like and figure what size we want? We can deal with that later, but we can just put a budget for that. So this is called progressive elaboration. It means I'm planning high level, the things that are distant, but I'm planning in a lot of details, the things that are near term. Okay, there's another term called rolling wave planning. Rolling wave planning, written like this, like the waves on a beach. Rolling wave planning, which allows for you to plan long term, in different waves or phases. Every phase is a wave, and the wave that is closest to you, let's say you're at the ocean, at the beach, the wave that is closest to you, you can tell how strong it is, how high, is it coming with a lot of force or not. But the ones that are down the ocean, if you look down, they look like ripples of water. So you can't really tell if they will become strong by the time they get close, but only when they get close, that's when you know if the wave is coming in really high. So the waves that are closer are really clear to you. The waves that are distant are not. So rolling wave planning says that every wave eventually will roll up to you, and as every wave is rolling, you're getting a better idea of the magnitude of that wave, big, small, or something, and you can even predict that the next waves will be similar, right, based on what you're seeing. So in projects, it's like that. Every phase of your project, what you see here on my screen, if I consider that this is, let me get my drawing tool. So if I consider this to be the first wave, different color. So if I consider this to be my first wave, and then I complete it, I had an estimate for time and for cost. I complete it and it came in, let's say, more costly, and it took more time. And then on the next wave, I figured that it's also costing me more and taking more time. I can estimate that the third wave or third phase will also be most likely more costly and take more time. And I can adjust upwards my estimate for that one. I can raise the estimate, I can increase it, give it more time, or request from management to give me more time. See, if you don't do this, you will fail on your project when you didn't need to fail. See? There's no reason to fail on a project. We fail because we set an expectation to management, but we don't deliver on that expectation. What if you can adjust as you go through change management, through changing the expectations, and change what they're expecting, so that even if you don't deliver on the original date, you still deliver on the new agreed to date, okay? The date that has been modified. So if we agreed for September initially, and we were able to make a case for why it needs to go to October because some circumstances, and management signs off and they're accepting that, then you would be on time even if you deliver in October. Even if you switch it to November, but you have management's approval, the key sponsor of the project, then you are on time. You don't have to meet the original date. The biggest mistake that people do is they never adjust estimates as they go. It doesn't mean every day go and adjust it, no. But you need to be on top of your project, know when something needs to be modified, and recommend that the dates or the time or the money or such, that they need to be modified. And you have to be convincing to your manager. If you don't know how to convince, you should watch a few videos on how to influence people, how to make a case for what you want. Doesn't mean you have to prepare a business case, but how do you convince someone that you really have a valid reason for shifting the date without looking like you were just negligent? So it takes skills. So these are some of the project management leadership skills that you need to have. Even if you don't have them now, practicing even on friends to try to influence them, If somebody wants coffee from, let's say, Starbucks, and you want to convince them to go to Costa, practice. That's a time to practice. If you can convince them to go to Costa easily, good, you won. But take something harder and try to convince people. When you try to convince, it's more of influencing. You cannot really push it. So the better you get at influencing and moving people to the way you want, the better you'll be able to lead a team, a small team, or peers when you're working on a project. So with the rolling wave here, what is important for progressive elaboration? Progressive elaboration, just plan high level, initially all the phases, and then you expand as you get closer. With rolling wave, the one at the top, adjust your estimates once you find out the reality. All right. So those are very important things when it comes to planning your projects, and they make the difference between you coming out as a success or a failure in your project. Projects, they drive change. We run projects for a reason. We don't run them because we have an extra budget. I think the days of luxury are done. We had good times, but I think those days are done. Now we run projects because they need to be run, because there's something that needs to be changed. We implement IT systems because they give us a way to sell some new servers. We implement them because they save us time or money. They are being done for a reason. There's usually a strategic plan for the organization, a vision, if you want, which represents that future state where they would like to be, and they are currently here. And we make these changes along the way so that we can take ourselves from wherever we are right now to the state that we want to be. Now, I have a question for you. I want you to think of the time, let's see, I like to use this example. So let's say we are in the year 200 compared to 2020 now, and we are in some jungle. So it's the year 200. Well, let's make it simple. Let's make it believable. In the year 204, okay? And we were in the jungle, okay? And the world back then, it didn't have too many people in it. Not as many as now. Now we have over 7 billion people. So let's say in the year 204, we wouldn't have had all these billions. It's probably a few million. And so the jungle remains, I would assume, for a long time in its state. Let's say you found a time travel machine in that jungle. I don't know how, but you did. And you sat in this time travel machine and you set it for 100 years later. So you time traveled all the way to the year 304. And you came out of this time travel machine and you looked around. Do you expect to see much difference? Do you see skyscrapers in the year 300? Or do you think the jungle will be the same? Now, I know different birds, obviously, they're descendants, but do you think the jungle will be different? I expect it to be the same because nobody's going to touch that jungle. Nobody is going to be cutting down trees because they need to make paper, nothing. Most of the jungle is going to be left alone. Maybe you'll find Robin Hood, maybe you went through it and left. But it's mostly going to be the same. Why is it the same? Because nothing was changed. Nobody touched anything. It remained as is. It's flourishing, nice and green, beautiful. Okay, fine. But nothing would have changed. And why am I giving you this example? If you are in an organization and you do not change anything, the current state and your future state will be exactly the same. So if today we are small or immature or we don't have procedures or processes and we do things randomly, ad hoc, chaotic, headaches and fighting, and nobody takes ownership of anything, or things take very long to do for our customers or clients, or we only have this one product or service and we don't make any change, we will get to several years later and we will be exactly the same, if not even worse. Nothing would have been touched. And that's why organizations think of that brighter vision, a future. They have a vision. They imagine the state of the organization in 5 years, in 10 years, in 2 years, sometimes even in 6 months if you want. And they say, and by then, we're going to be this. We're going to have this kind of service. We're going to provide this or that. But to say something, Rick, and to achieve it are two different things. For you to achieve it, work has to be done. Something has to change. Something has to happen. Technology has to be improved. People's skills have to be improved. The right people need to be lined up, trained, acquired, whatever. You need to simplify the repetitive stuff, make it automated, and focus on things that cannot be made repetitive or automated. And provide new services. If you're already maxed out on what you can provide on this one service, see what you have for complementary services that the organization can provide. This is how you continue to grow. But this requires that along the way, all these things are being done, and these are the projects. Those are the projects that are handed down to you guys, and they expect that because they gave it to you, that you will, take ownership and actually push through and make sure the necessary project work is being done successfully. And the goal of this course is to help you do that. Those changes are essential for achieving the organization's vision. And if we fail at it, then the organization will fail. And when they fail, they get rid of a few of us. That's what usually happens. But anyways, project management, yes, we do it to satisfy stakeholder expectations because they're expecting some initiative or deliverable to be completed. But we also, if we improve our skills in project management, we become a lot more predictable in our success. When somebody gives me a project and they know I successfully do it all the time, they know they can trust that I will develop a proper schedule, I will take charge of this team, I don't become a slave driver for the team, but I become a good leader for the team. I can fix problems before they happen. I'm not going to go complain about every issue. I can deal with limitations that we have, deal with risks, minimize headaches, and actually deliver on time with the right budget. That's usually what management wants to feel when they're assigning you a project. So I should have called this importance of project management skills. That's what helps you there. Now the question is, let's say you don't have any project management skills. Can you deliver projects successfully? Let's say you were never trained, nothing, but somebody gave you a task. Can you deliver that successfully? You don't have to have project management training to be successful. But if you have project management training and you've perfected some of the tools or techniques, you'll have a higher chance of being successful. There's nothing that says you cannot be successful. But if you're faced with challenges that you don't have experience in, but let's say you have leadership skills naturally, you'll still be able to do fine. But project management skills will ensure, like proper training like this, ensures that you have a better chance at succeeding with the project. So if you were investing money in something, you would rather give it to someone that has a higher chance of success than someone who will only be successful by luck, right? So these are the benefits of project management skills, is that they make you a more reliable potential for succeeding on the project. So let me ask you, preparing a report, is that a project? It's a task. How about designing what the report will look like for the weekly meetings? Is that a project? So if I'm coming up with a new design for our weekly meetings, what the report will look like, and maybe I am going to have to pull data from different sources on a weekly basis, that may be a short project. Moving our, if we are the IT team and we move our offices from here to there, that could be a project. If we wanted to hire 3 people to join the team, is that a project? Well, honestly, if you wanted to hire 3 people, it wouldn't necessarily be a project, could be part of operations, but it depends. Sometimes it can be a project for HR, for them to make sure that they have all these people at the right time for the budget that they've offered and with the right skill set. So they have to meet specific requirements and be ready by a specific time frame. So it all depends on how we dress it up, right? And that really determines if something is going to end up being a project or not. There are similarities between them, like projects and operations They both have goals and objectives, they have timelines. It's just the way we approach it, the nature of it. The nature would be there's criticality or urgency in the timeline, and it's a one-off thing that doesn't always repeat. So if every week I hire 3 people, then hiring 3 people is really operations. But if I only need them one time, then it becomes temporary and it starts to be more like a project at that point. So it's the temporary aspect of it that starts to make it a project where you have to plan it out for that specific one need that I have rather than a repetitive thing.